Good morning. My name is Jada Williams. I'm a member of the parish committee. My pronouns are she, her. We are so happy to have you with us, either online or in person here in this beautiful space. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors we may have today. We are happy to have you join us. We invite you to join us downstairs or online for community time following today's service. At coffee hour, if you are new with us or if you just want to start a conversation, please pick up a red mug. It's a signal to our community that you'd like a friendly hello. Our mission here at First Parish is to build community, search for meaning, deepen our spirituality, and make a better world. If you have questions about First Parish or Unitarian Universalism, someone from our membership team will be at the welcome table during coffee hour to greet you and answer any questions you may have. Reverend Lisa and Kate Holland, our Director of Lifespan Education, are also available after service and would love to meet you. Thank you to all of today's service participants whose names are in the order of service. Please, a reminder to silence your cell phones during our time together. Please join me now in taking a moment to say hello to one another, including a wave to those online. The camera over there. I have a quick announcement that I'm very excited about personally. The Wayland Public Schools and the Human Rights, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee of Wayland are sponsoring an opportunity that First Parish is hosting. It's going to be called Conversations, Not Confrontations, an opportunity to work with a wonderful facilitator, Jamil Adams, and you can come once or you can come all 4 times. It will be held here in our meeting house. And it's the second Tuesdays of the next, so February, March, April, and May. So look for more information on that in the Unitarian and our e-blasts. And I want to extend a heartfelt welcome to all. Let us turn now our hearts and minds to worship. I welcome the Barber LaPenta family who will be lighting the chalice for us.
With open minds and loving hearts, we gather to search for meaning, to care for one another, and to work together for a better world.
The choir is about to sing this song, The Tide is Rising. You have the lyrics on a sheet of paper, came with your order of service. They are going to sing the first verse, and then we are invited to join them in singing this wonderful piece. And you can rise as you are willing and able when you sing.
Rising,
Morning. Welcome to First Parish in Wayland. I am Reverend Lisa Perrywood. I'm the interim minister here at First Parish, and my pronouns are she, her. This week we're going to do something a little bit different. Rather than hearing just one voice speak about how we practice resistance, which is our theme for the month, how we do activism as Unitarian Universalists, we're going to hear testimony from those among us who feel called to that work. And that's not because activism is required to be a Unitarian Universalist, but because listening to one another's lived faith, how we put our values and principles into action, is one of the ways we learn who we are as a congregation. So you won't hear prescriptions this morning. You will hear stories about discernment, doubt, courage, limits, and love. This is After Angela Tells Me She's Looking for Proof of Good in the World by Rosemary Watola Tromer. I go walking up a backcountry road, and for 10 minutes, a crow flies above and before me, resting in trees along the way, as if showing me the way to go. Someone has made smiley faces out of pebbles and left them on many large flat stones. And the orange Jeep that passes me pulls a U-turn, and Trevor jumps out and says, "I just wanted to hug you." If I knew only this hour, it would be easy to believe the world is only good. But I carry in me the certainty that rupture is part of the whole. I know cruelty lives in us all. I know, too, the white truck slowed down when it passed me, as if the driver said, "Walker, I will make you feel safe." I know when I turned not just out but in, I felt such genuine love for the world, that love was the strongest proof of all. Dear friends, come now into this sacred and beloved space we co-create each week, and let us worship together. And now I'm going to invite us to sing just 2 verses of We Build a Land, because we already did so much singing. Please rise as you are willing and are able, and sing hymn number 121 in the gray hymnal, We'll Build a Land.
Bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where oil of gladness dissolves the morning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. He'll build a land where we bring children's tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and give their hearts instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an
Good morning. I'd like to point out first that I am not Jim Kittendaw, though Jim was asked to cover me. Hi, Jim. Was asked to cover for me today, and I ended up not needing to have him cover, but I will make Jim do it another morning because he will be fantastic. So I am Kate Holland. I am the Director of Lifespan Education here at First Parish, and I use she, her pronouns. So this morning, I have a story about a small town. And it was a great little small town, and there were animals that lived in it of all kinds. Some had feathers, some had fur, some had hides. And you know, they lived together really peacefully for the most part, except for one problem. They had one kind of animal in the town that had the most money, that got to make the most rules, that told people what to do, and they were very bossy. It was the kangaroos. The kangaroos had everybody in working order, supposedly. They made laws about everything. So the lake, only kangaroos could swim in the lake. The butterfly garden, only kangaroos could go to the butterfly garden. So the other animals didn't think those laws were very fair, but the kangaroos said, if you don't follow the laws, we'll put you in the zoo. So the animals were kind of afraid, and they didn't want to be put in the zoo. So instead of going to the lake, they'd go through a sprinkler. If they wanted to watch butterfly-ish things, they'd wait until the night when the lights came on, and they'd watch the moths go around. So in this small town, there was an elephant. And the one thing, I know, my friend has so many elephant facts. I will listen to them all when we get down to Sikh, I promise. So there's an elephant, and this elephant loved noodles, any kind of noodles, lasagna noodles, spaghetti, fettuccine, rotini. And I think there's another friend in one of the pews who's going like, yeah, me too. But this elephant loved pasta so much that her friends nicknamed her Noodlefant. Noodlefant loved to have pasta parties, and everybody loved to go to her pasta parties. So one day as she was preparing, she was at the grocery store, she had 3 bags of flour, 6 dozen eggs, she was waiting in line, and suddenly she hears a whistle goes off, and in flies a kangaroo who says, "You, elephant, what are you doing?" Noodlefant looked up and she said, "Well, I'm getting supplies because we're going to have a pasta party. I've got eggs and I've got flour, and we're going to have a great time, and I love pasta." Well, the kangaroo said, "No, elephants may not have eggs and flour to make pasta. Only kangaroos can do that." Elephant looked at the kangaroo and said, "You may not know who I am, but my name is Noodlefant, and that's because I love noodles. And this rule, this law would be wrong." Kangaroo said, "No, if you break the law, you will go to the zoo." Well, Noodlefant went home, and Noodlefant and their friends sat in their house and talked about how unfair this was, that it wasn't okay for kangaroos to make the laws and nobody else to get anything to say about it at C class. And so what they decided after a long think, we're going to make something that's going to be amazing, and it will be so we can have some pasta. So they got gears and they got different kinds of parts, and they started to work together to make a machine. And so finally the machine was done, and it was an amazing machine because no matter what you put into the machine, it turned into pasta. They put a pillow in and they got out beautiful ravioli. They put in some shredded papers and some beautiful linguine came flowing out. It was great. So they started throwing different things in, seeing what kinds of pasta they could make, and they were having the best pasta party they'd ever had. Lots and lots of slurpy noodles. It was awesome. Until all of a sudden, the kangaroos saw what was going on. And they came bursting through the doors, and they said, "What do you think you're doing?" And Noodlefant said, we're having a pasta party." They said, "You're not allowed to have eggs and flour to make pasta." And they went, "But we didn't use eggs and flour. We used pillows and scraps of paper." And the kangaroo said, "I don't care. No noodles for any other animals except for kangaroos." And because you've broken the law, I'm going to take you to the kangaroo court. So they arrested Noodlefont, took him to the kangaroo court, and sadly, the judge decided, with the help of all the other kangaroos that were in the jury, that Noodlefont had to go to the zoo. So Noodlefont was very sad in the zoo. Every day they would come with a barrel of sticks and brambles for Noodlefont to eat. Noodlefont refused. I'm just not going to eat that. That's just horrible stuff. Day after day, they did the same thing. Noodlefont got smaller and smaller. Noodlefont's friends were worried about him. So one day, one of his friends came to feed them and brought sticks and twigs. And Noodlefont went, huh. And the friend said, if you look deeply, you may find a way to like the sticks and twigs. When she went, Noodlefont kind of dug through the sticks and twigs. Can you guess what was in there? What? Noodles. No, you're very close. You're very close. In the wheelbarrow was the magic noodler machine. So Noodlefont was like, great. So the first thing she did was she took all the sticks and stones and she made beautiful pasta because she was starving. So she ate the pasta up, slurped it like crazy, and then she went, and she put the machine over on the bars of the jail that she was in the zoo. And suddenly, the great noodle maker started sucking up the bars and making it into udon noodles. And so Noodlefont was out. So she went to her friends and she said, we have to stop this. It's not okay for these laws to stay in place. We have to work to change it. So they decided they're going to fight the law by not following it. So they got all of her friends to tell everyone in the town that they could find that they were going to have a big pasta party on the lawn of the courthouse. So everyone said, okay. And they all made different things and brought different things to put into the magic noodle maker. So there were kinds of rigatoni and different things. And of course, you could smell all that beautiful pasta all over. And one of the kangaroos came in and said, hey, I've told you you can't do this. And Noodlefont said, but we decided that we can because we should get a vote. Well, the kangaroo held up his book with all the laws and said, it's in here. You can't do this. Noodlefont took the book and threw it in the noodle maker. Out of it came lasagna. And so the kangaroo caught the lasagna and took a little nibble and went, wow, that's really good. And the smell went all around, and even the kangaroos started to come in to the potluck and get food. And all of a sudden, people started talking to each other. And they decided, you know, we should have a vote and a say in what happens in our town. And so I think the great lesson about this is that when something isn't just, it takes all of us to come together and all of us to speak up. Now you're all going to go home and want pasta tonight, aren't you? Okay, I'm going to invite my friends that are in their C classes to come on down with me. And the choir is going to sing us out.
Well, good morning, First Parish. I've got a message for you this morning about an organization called Partakers. It's a nonprofit organization helping to reduce recidivism by promoting higher education and providing community mentoring for incarcerated and returning men and women. Students who have graduated from the Partakers College Behind Bars mentoring program have a 2% recidivism rate compared to the 6-year national average of 79%. The 3-year average in Massachusetts is 32%. Over its 29-year history, Partakers has partnered with BU and Tufts to provide college-level teaching. Many community volunteers have mentored students at MCI Norfolk and MCI Framingham, including several teams from First Parish, over a 15-year period, of which I was a member for 10. Many of us continue to support our ex-prisoner after release, although this was then outside Partakers' purview. For me, this effective program provided a way to counsel inmates holistically toward advancing a more fulfilling life in society. This service is linked to our UU principles related to individual worth, of justice, and of compassion. It also educated me about the challenges of the correctional system. COVID halted the program for a short time, but it is now alive and well, although we do not have teams from here currently. Partakers later partnered with Brandeis to establish the Partakers Empowerment Program. Participants build strong support networks with community mentors, Brandeis students, and peers who provide a critical, trusted personal connection in support of reentry to society. Over 14 weeks, there are weekly Zoom workshops to teach immediate and long-term skills. About 95% of those graduated from the program have found housing and employment. Half of today's plate will be shared with Partakers. Your generous donations will be much appreciated. If you are interested in Partakers' experience, you can talk to Charlie Anderson, Natalie Thompson, Peggy Helen, Bobby Robinson, Suzanne Tiberi, or myself.
This morning, we share testimonies from parishioners that reflect how they were personally called to social justice initiatives. These represent just a couple of the First Parish Social Action Council's 11 active social justice initiatives or ministries, ranging from climate justice to immigration support, from beekeeping and the pantry garden to the Domestic Violence Roundtable and the UU Urban Ministry, and more. You can see details on the sheet that was handed out this morning. It was in your order of service. If you want to know more, there's a name on there for you to contact for each of those initiatives. At First Parish, it's said that we have a bubble-up approach to social action. If someone has the passion or energy to take the lead on a social justice initiative, the parish committee will give its blessing and they are off. This approach has resulted in countless hours of volunteerism, community building, and good works to make our world a better place. It's a reflection of who we are and the world we want to see. As you listen, notice what stirs in you. Do you recognize a calling of your own or a release from one you no longer carry? You're not asked to respond today, only to notice. We'll begin with Jean Milburn, followed by Evan Hattingham.
Good morning. I want to talk for a moment about why I stay involved in activism, even when it's hard. For me, activism isn't primarily about anger or urgency or feeling morally correct. I feel those things sometimes, but they are not what sustains me. What sustains me is love. I've come to understand activism as a labor of love. Not love as a warm feeling, love as a commitment. Love as the choice to keep showing up because something matters too much to abandon or ignore. I've also come to understand that labors of love are a form of prayer, not a prayer of words or silence, but prayer as attention and intention, prayer as how our values shape the world by what we do. There are plenty of days when it'd be easier not to pay attention, when it would be simpler to stay comfortable, stay quiet, and focus only on my own life. And sometimes that's necessary. Rest matters. But when I disengage for too long, something inside of me goes numb. What brings me back is caring. Caring about people I know, caring about people I don't know. Caring about the kind of world that we are silently shaping through what we tolerate and what we don't tolerate. That caring doesn't always feel light or easy, but it feels honest. It feels meaningful. When I act from that place, not to win, not to fix everything, not to be a hero, I feel more grounded, less divided between what I say I value and how I actually live. That's when activism feels like prayer to me. It's labor because it takes time, energy, and patience, and persistence. It asks me to keep learning, to listen when I'd rather defend myself, and to stay engaged even when progress is so slow. And it's prayer because it's love made visible, because it's my values taking shape in the world, even imperfectly. I don't believe that love is proven by how intensely we feel it. I believe that love is revealed by what we're willing to work on. And that work doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's making a phone call. Sometimes it's showing up at a meeting. Sometimes it looks like standing beside someone so they don't have to stand alone. Activism at its best isn't about working so hard we burn ourselves out. It's about staying connected to our values, to each other, and to the world that we're a part of. And that's why I keep coming back to it. Because love, when it's taken seriously, eventually asks for labor. And for me, that labor, shared, imperfect, and ongoing, is also prayer. Amen.
That was such a lovely statement. That's, as they say, a hard act to follow. But I want to speak about the plight of our near neighbors, the undocumented families in places like Framingham and Milford. The shooting of Renee Good in Minneapolis last week was finally, I'd say, put on the nation's radar the true scale of the brutality of ICE's actions against those communities. And there's a troubling rise in ICE activity very recently. In fact, there were 9 arrests in Milford last Saturday. And rumors, and that's no more than that at this point, that Boston may be subject to the kind of deeply shocking violence that's been manifested in Minneapolis. You know, this is a very troubling situation to contemplate. So what to do about it? From my response to it has been to support the organization that provides deep support for those families, and that's the Casa Metro West Workers Center in Framingham. And for many years, they've been providing legal aid for those families, vital bail bonding sponsorship that they carry out, which is the only thing that stands in many cases between instant deportation for those families. They provide accompaniment for those families to appointments with ICE and to local court appearances, rides for school kids because families are too terrified to get in their car and drive their kids to school. And they also are currently organizing a standout, which for me was the kind of precipitating moment to get me involved, because for a long while I read about CASA and admired their organization, but I thought, you know, this is not my fight. I can't speak Spanish. I'm going to be, you know, what possible use can I be of this organization? And what did it for me was hearing that there is an ICE facility at the corner of Speen Street and Old Connecticut Path. It's an innocuous-looking gray building. And I drive by that every day on my way to work out at the Y. And it's 8 minutes drive from my front door. In this facility, they provide a certain class of people they've arrested with a regular check-in in which there's a contractor there that puts the ankle bracelets on those people, and they have to report back stringently for these appointments. If they miss one, even one, that can be it, you know, and there's many reasons why it's difficult for people to take time off work, figure out transportation often to get to their appointment. And so fairly recently, CASA started organizing this Tuesday morning standout. It's between 8:30 and 10 o'clock on Tuesdays. And we stand out on the pavement, which is allowed. It's not they don't want you parking down right in front of the building. It's a remarkable event. It's a lot of social solidarity is built up. It's actually a pleasant social event. A lot of our signs say ICE works here, and I think getting that message across is a challenge. We need to do more of it, because a lot of people look up and wonder what we're doing there. There are a lot of signs that people honk in appreciation with, and my favorite moment was early on in this process when somebody actually came out from the ICE offices and said, we don't mind you, being here and speaking your mind, but the honking of horns is getting in the way of our work. This, to us, was the greatest feedback we could possibly have expected. Yes, that's what we wanted to hear. So it's very cold work at the moment, but it made a tremendous difference to me to actually be there in public, finally out of my shell and bearing witness to what's going on, however small a way. The other thing I want to talk about was the other vital function that CASA does, which is providing food aid for 200 families every Saturday in alternating centers that I won't identify, which is a remarkable operation. I have a tiny role in it, in that I drive on a Saturday morning to the local CSA farm, load up my Kia with rutabaga and squash and all kinds of stuff, and I drive it to wherever the distribution is for that week. Yesterday was quite remarkable. If you imagine packing shopping bags for 200 families, it is quite an operation. I was assigned to unpack the shopping bags that are delivered from Market Basket in flat packs. It is no small thing to open 200 shopping bags so that they can be filled with food. This is the sort of essential first step. Just doing that was one thing. Nobody runs around telling people what to do. It's a quite remarkable piece of self-organization. The families come in, they don't even talk much. They bring in their kids, the kids have a little activity center, but everybody pitches in and knows, and in just an hour flat, those 200 bags are stacked up to the top. And it's not, mostly it's not us outsiders, there are volunteers there, but it's mostly spontaneously done by the families. And it's a really quite moving thing to watch, I found. Now I want to add that yesterday's activity there featured a special event, which was the donation of 60 jackets made possible by Molly Faulkner and Barbara Padula. The reason being is that when kids are accompanied to school, they often show up, they're just wearing, they only have, hoodies and sweatshirts to wear out in temperatures like today. So just doing this action of providing outerwear, it's just basic, and it was a wonderful thing to have done. The other thing to acknowledge also is the response of all of you to the Echoes of Hope fundraiser we had in November, thanks to the genius of David O'Leary and his music quiz and so on. That had the extraordinary result of raising in 2 hours of this event $30,000 for CASA, which speaks to, I think, to the generosity of you all, the importance of this cause, and we need to do more. It's a lot of money, but filing one stay of deportation costs about $5,000 apparently, just dealing with one urgent case. So obviously I'm making a pitch for you all to support more. It's really transformed my values. It's funny because a lot of what seemed important to me before doing this, my hobbies and all that kind of stuff, they're still important, but it's kind of receded in value because this vital reaching out to people who are so threatened is what really motivates me at the moment. Thanks.
Thank you both.
Good morning. I'm Ted Barnes. My pronouns are he, his, him, and I am a lay minister of this congregation. This is a time in our service we set aside to acknowledge the joys and sorrows that we all hold. In both our sharing and in our witness, we affirm our covenant to care for one another. As we face the uncertainty of the road ahead in our country and our world, we light our vigil candle in solidarity with all of those who are living in fear. We offer our deep love for all beings, remembering that justice is what love looks like in public, as we are saying out on the front lawn, I think, still. May the love which abides in our community offer hope, strength, and peace in the days to come. If you have a personal joy or sorrow you would like to share, please feel free to come forward now and/or raise your hand, and I will bring you the mic for you to share. Those online can type your joys or sorrows in the chat, and I will read them. Final candle for those joys and sorrows not spoken. May we hold in our hearts those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence. May it be so.
Please enjoy this music for meditation.
Good morning. I'm Barb Hefner. In your order of service, it says that I'm going to read an excerpt from the I Have a Dream speech. Kit walked up to me right before the service began and said, "Oh, Barb, I see you're reading from the I Have a Dream speech. It's only one of the most famous pieces of oratory ever delivered. No pressure." But I bested Kit by telling him, well, actually, I changed the reading. I didn't let Karen know this, so not her fault, my fault. But I actually I'm choosing to read a section from his Nobel Peace Prize lecture. Now, it turns out that if you are awarded a Nobel Peace Prize and aren't given one secondhand, then you do an acceptance speech, which his was about 10 minutes, but you also give a lecture, and he delivered that the next day, and that is more like an hour. So this is a tiny excerpt of that. If you have a chance to read it, it's an extraordinary piece of writing, as you might expect. This is the section on nonviolence, and even that I've abridged, but you'll understand, I think, why I chose this section. The word that symbolizes the spirit and the outward form of our encounter is nonviolence, and it is doubtless that factor which made it seem appropriate to award a peace prize to one identified with struggle. Nonviolence in the civil rights struggle has meant not relying on arms and weapons. It has meant direct participation of masses in protest. Nonviolence has also meant that my people, in the agonizing struggles of recent years, have taken suffering upon themselves rather than inflicting it on others. But in some substantial degree, it has meant that we do not want to instill fear in others or into the society of which we are a part. Violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. Violence is immoral because it seeks to annihilate rather than convert, and it thrives on hatred rather than love. Nonviolence seeks to secure moral ends through moral means. Nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon. Indeed, it is a weapon unique in history, which cuts without wounding and ennobles the man or woman who wields it. The nonviolent resistors can summarize their message in the following simple terms. We will take direct action against injustice despite the failure of governmental and other official agencies to act. We will not obey unjust laws or submit to unjust practices. We will do this peacefully, openly, cheerfully. But our aim is to persuade. We will try to persuade with our words, but if our words fail, we will try to persuade with our acts. We will always be willing to talk and seek fair compromise, but we are ready to suffer when necessary and even to risk our lives to become witnesses to truth as we see it. In the past 10 years, unarmed, gallant men and women of the United States have given living testimony to the moral power and efficacy of nonviolence. They have taken our whole nation back to those great wells of democracy, which were dug deep by the founding fathers in the formulation of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. One day, all of America will be proud of their achievements.
Nobody
Thank you, choir. Freedom indeed. And thank you, Keith, Jean, and Evan for your sharing, Barb for your reading. I never fail to be inspired by how my siblings in social justice work have been moved to action, and also how that action sustains all of us. And I just have a brief reflection to share. I think most of you know by now that I have a passion for social justice. Over the last 6 decades, I've been engaged in racial and immigration justice, climate and prison justice, justice in schools, and for LGBTQ+ rights. In college, I pursued a research project on the life of Gandhi, interviewing a couple in a nearby retirement community who had worked closely with him in India. I heard some incredible stories from them, and one of the most important things I learned is that Gandhi's work to bring about nonviolent change in his country, like Reverend Dr. King's work in our country, was founded on love, just as Jean said. Love for their country, love for all humanity, especially for the poor, the outcast, the marginalized. And I have no doubt that Martin Luther King and Gandhi would be fighting for the rights of immigrants if they were here today. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that, said King. Only love. And it occurred to me that love is what has been at the heart of all of the work I've done over the years. Whether marching in the streets or showing up at a prison or detention center, whenever, wherever I stand for justice, it is always based on love. Just one quick story. As a child, I had a hidden disability, a skin condition that caused blisters on my hands, feet, and face, making me an easy target for grade school bullies. Now, the teachers told me to just ignore them, but one friend, Janie, stood by me, and I have never forgotten that. She loved me when I felt my most unlovable. And you see, it only takes one friend, because eventually the tide turned, and the next year we had a whole group of friends. Janie's love changed things. She saved me, and all it took was a hand reaching out. And that's where I think I learned to be that hand, wherever, however I can, to let love lead me, to say, this is what I can do. This is how I can show up. Because, as Rosemary Tromer reminds us, love is the strongest proof of all. Now, as I mentioned, many of my UU colleagues and other clergy will be traveling to Minneapolis this week to be in solidarity with those protesting the brutality of the ICE invasion there, remembering the March on Selma that happened almost exactly 60 years ago. It'll be 60 years ago on March 7th. I ask that we hold them in our hearts, in our prayers, especially on Thursday and Friday. If you've been moved by the stories you heard this morning, if you have questions or you want to figure out what more you can do, talk to a member of the Social Action Council. I'm going to ask any members of the Social Action Council to just wave your hands, if you would. There's a couple behind you, so take a look around. It's an open invitation, because in the words of Julian Jamaica Soto, all of us need all of us to make it. And now, dear friends, please rise as you are willing and are able, and join in singing hymn number 169 in the great hymnal, We Shall Overcome.
We
These are the words of Dr. King from his speech, Remaining Awake Through a Great Revolution. Somewhere we must come to see that human progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals who are willing to be co-workers with God. And without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. So we must help time and realize that the time is always ripe to do right. Dear friends, take all that we have shared here this morning out into the world. Be a blessing to all those you meet, and may you yourselves be blessed. Amen.